Gujarat Chamber of Commerce and Industry. Grow business. Transform Gujarat.
Hi ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the new episode of GCCI Gujarat Udyog Jagatni Charcha. We have a very special human being joining us today, Shaan Zaveri, who wears many hats, from driving the iconic Swati snacks into the new era to making bold moves in real estate. Shaan Zaveri has been paving his own path. We look forward to getting to know the man behind the many businesses that he runs, the many ventures he has, getting to know his passions and the various stories that shape him. Let's get to know him. So welcome to the show once again, and let's jump right into it. We have so many questions for you. The first question I'd like to ask you, and I'm sure the audiences are waiting with bated breath, is what are the earliest influences? You said you had a very different childhood compared to the norm. Can you shed light?
I had a very close relationship with my family, particularly my parents and my maternal grandparents who lived close to us. They've been great influences in my life. We were brought up with a lot of freedom. We were lucky to be also, myself and my brother were brought up on a farm. We had our own cows. We grew a lot of our produce. We had a workshop where we did made some small products. So the environment was unusual. I was lucky also from childhood to go to a school which was very progressive. This is a school that my grandmother started, and she was influenced by Madame Montessori and a slightly different outlook on education, where it was focused more on creative learning and freedom, and I think generally all the kids in our school were very happy. So the early days were in that school, and from time to time my mother taught there. There were some things that my father also moonlighted there as well, so it was nice to have, and we had small classes and made great friends. This school eventually ended at the 7th grade, and then I moved into a more traditional school, which was not an easy transition, as you might imagine. And about a year and a half into that transition, I was not at all happy with the way things were, and neither were my parents. Seeing, me and my brother kind of struggle with that new environment. So we made a slightly bold move of dropping out of formal education at that point. And then from that point on, I was homeschooled by really my parents, and my grandfather took a particular interest. My grandfather was very keen on mathematics and English. And my father, science and geography and other subjects. But we did have some structured learning, but a lot of unstructured learning as well. So as such, I have not studied English. The first school I was in was Gujarati medium school, but I was exposed to a certain environment that has kind of shaped my education. And then from a very early age, because we had a workshop at home, I started using machine tools, started doing things with my hands, and tinkering around with things that were broken, or broke things that were working, as the case is. And that's how we kind of grew up. And so therefore, I think it was slightly unusual compared to how the traditional childhood happens. But that is, I think, may have had a lot to do with how my life turned out afterwards. And from a very early age, I started designing things, making things. My father's an architect, my mother is a graphic designer. My father does a lot of product design, which he really enjoyed, and made things that we needed for the home or for the farm or for the businesses. My mother had a very keen interest in gardening, horticulture. Our farm was organic, and she really kind of looked after the place that we live in. And so that was kind of our environment. And we had dogs on the farm, and I had a lot of fun in the early days. When I was 16, I started tinkering with stone, granite particularly, and started designing and making tableware out of granite, which is not the most common material to make tableware out of.
Definitely not.
And ended up selling some things in the UK and a few other markets. And that was an interesting stint in my life. So I used to participate in trade fairs, had some friends who were very encouraging. So from an early age, I got into the kind of entrepreneurial spirit. And I didn't quite at that point know what I might end up doing, but had the freedom to try different things.
Right.
Our family businesses were all handled by other people. So there was no expectation or compulsion to fall in line with something that I was not necessarily interested in. And so I had an opportunity to kind of explore different things, and then I got an interest in music and saw an opportunity. We still do live near the airport and near Shaibagh Gymkhana, and I started a nightclub there at the age of 21, I think.
Wow, this is information we didn't find in our research.
Yes. So that was an interesting stint as well. It lasted for about 4 months. It was a little too successful because there was nothing else around at that time.
Please tell me what a nightclub in Ahmedabad sounds like.
Slightly different from what you might imagine. It's the nightclub without the alcohol business. But we had fun. And we used to we took some space from the Shaibagh Gymkhana and we used to run it on the weekends, every Saturday. And, used to be, I think we had a capacity of about 100 people, and 200 to 300 people used to show up. So it was always ultra packed.
Wow.
And had a lot of fun more than anything.
Sure.
And everything became a family enterprise. So my mother made the lemonade that we used to serve, and my dad was kind of one of the bouncers just to make sure that things were in order. So that's how it was.
Incredible. And the reason for it lasting only 4 months?
You might imagine dry state and nightclub don't go together as such. So we had some people who created some mischief, and that led to us having to shut down. But anyways, it was a great experience having done that at an early age. And then some friends asked if my dad would help do the interior of their home. And my dad said he would if I were to participate with him. So that's how I sort of steered into the real estate business. That was the first kind of opportunity. And so when we did this interior job, we ended up kind of stripping everything from the home. Everything was kind of falling apart, and what we could see is that everything was generally substandard in that particular house. And we thought surely nobody should build things of that standard. If there would certainly be enough discerning people to be able to appreciate a higher standard. So that was my first kind of touch with the construction industry. And then in 95 we bought some land and decided to develop it with another local company who were good friends. And that's how I kind of somehow ended up in the real estate space. But nothing was by design. It was not a business that we had from generations that I had to fall in line with. It was an opportunity that we saw and felt passionate to try it without having any expectation that we would do anything beyond one project. And that's exactly what happened. We did one project. We started in 96, 97. 97 and 98 were particularly bad for the real estate business at that time. I remember there'd be a very sharp recession.
Gee.
It was very, very tough at that time. Somehow we pulled through. And then in 2000, in 99, just before the kind of, turn of the millennium, there was a sudden boom and the stock market was rising, and suddenly we were able to sell everything and get out. So that was a good experience. I learned a lot on the job. I had no prior experience with the construction industry, but I spent about 3 years on the construction site. So it was a kind of on the ground training, but because of my general understanding of how things work and a keen interest in design and construction technology, I was surrounded by people who were doing good things. So learned a lot from them. Also learned, what not to do, importantly. And then saw these kind of opportunities to do things where we found sort of gaps in the market. There was never any ambition to get to a certain scale or do business of a certain type. I think things just kind of fell in line when they did. It was all accident after accident after accident, but in a positive way. I would say it was not some grand scheme to create a real estate empire, in which we still don't. We are still very boutique scale. We do things that we enjoy, and yeah.
That's beautiful to know, because unlike a lot of stories we would hear, what makes this set apart is that you actually owe all of this happening to probably the timeline or the unfolding of life.
Yeah, I think so. I would think so. I mean, had my background been different, perhaps the following steps might have been different.
How does this background and the upbringing that you so beautifully shared, how do the skills or the competencies that you picked up at that time impact and shape who you are as an entrepreneur today?
I think following one's own passion. I think often people don't feel that they have the luxury to do that, and often people don't.
That's
right?
true.
Many people have so many things that they need to look at. We were lucky to have that background where we had the luxury to make choices that we could follow. And also then the drive to do something impactful. It was never, and I still don't have any vision or target in my mind saying we want to do X or Y. It doesn't matter. As long as we keep doing things that we enjoy, that people around us enjoy, our customers of course must enjoy. The financial models of whatever we do need to make sense. Eventually these ventures must make a decent return. But things are not evaluated on the basis of their scale or return, but more so the potentiality, the excitement of doing something unique that brings to us. For me, is much more challenging than I'd much rather do a tiny first-time project than something that we've done before at just massive scale. So that doesn't drive me.
This is so intriguing and such a different. It's a breath of fresh air to be hearing something so different. Thank you for sharing that. What does a day in the life of Shaan Zaveri look like today?
Okay, today I'm glad you put it that way, because that has also changed over the years. But I generally am a morning person, so I wake up early. We have a lot of dogs, so our morning is my morning particularly, because I'm the first one to wake up, is with a lot of our dogs, and I do yoga in the morning, take the dogs for a walk, make breakfast. We have a very self-sufficient lifestyle, so the whole family, myself, my wife, my kids, we all cook and kind of take care of ourselves most of the time. So generally the mornings are just getting things done, going to work. I generally leave home about between 8:30 and 9. So that's generally the morning. Then at the office, we or a construction site, depending on how where my work takes me. And we are fortunate to have a great dynamic team at the office as well, and in our construction site. So there's always some challenge, some excitement, something that needs to get done. Then usually lunch at Swati every day. So that's my check-in that happens. Also get to meet a lot of people there. So fortunately, both my offices are very close to it. They are in buildings that we have constructed. So again, by design, it's nice to have Swati close to us. So that's my connect with Swati on a daily basis. My daughter now is much more involved, and Swati is a family business.
Yes.
My father is very much involved. My wife, daughter, sister-in-law, her daughter, all of them are involved in some way or the other. So it is family enterprise here. Of course, Swati, my grandmother started about 60 years ago in Mumbai. And then after her, when she passed away in the 80s, my aunt, my father's sister, took it over, and she's been running Swati. And one day she, out of the blue, said, you guys are making a building at Law Garden, why not start a Swati? Till then, Swati was something that we enjoyed from a distance, but had no understanding of the details of how that business works. And suddenly, my Aunt Asha descended in Ahmedabad with about 100 people and said, we're going to start Swati. So it sort of happened a bit like that. We were very naive as a family, didn't quite know what it entailed. So when that happened, it was like a whirlwind, and everybody had to drop everything they were doing, and then we were all, kind of managing Swati because the kind of growing pains of a new business, and particularly an F&B business that you don't know how to run. So we all had to learn on the fly, but Asha provided great support. She was there for a whole month to get us. We were on our training wheels, and then she gave us a push and left. So from then on, we've been running Swati, and it really runs as a family enterprise. And we have the reason it runs well is because we have a great team of people. And I'd say I'm lucky that in all the businesses that we own, operate, or manage, it's really the people that define these businesses. And we're lucky to have an excellent set of people. So Swati runs by a large team of people who are very dedicated. We treat them with respect. They treat us with respect. We all care for the business. And that success really spells the success of everybody who's involved with it. So it's nice that, people kind of operate that business as if, they feel passionate about it. Even a large part of our team, which is not usual. And, in the restaurant industry, there's a lot of churn. People keep leaving, and you hear of good restaurants shutting down because the chef left. This doesn't happen at Swati. We've never had really people leave for reasons other than some very deep personal reasons which compels people to leave. So again, very, very, very lucky to be in that situation.
What's beautiful is whether you had panki about 20 years ago and you have it today, it still tastes the same. It must be taking a lot. Of course, the entire family is involved, but how has it been making, keeping and recreating Swati into being this iconic that it has become?
Swati's evolved over the years. It used to be a small hole in the wall when it was started in Mumbai, a couple of 100 square feet. Then in around 2000, my aunt bought some adjoining shops in Tardev. Swati was renovated. A very good architect, Rahul Mehrotra, was involved to design the space, and he did a great job. So from being just simple chaats and homemade ice creams, it turned into a restaurant for the first time at that time.
Okay.
And my aunt Asha really created many things that were up till then not really on the menu. So all the traditional specialities like panki or satpadi roti or thali pith or all our core traditional items were all introduced by her around that time. And we designed the furniture, and suddenly that space became a little more where we could identify more with now what the image of Swati looked like. The food was always great. And so that we were involved in that whole transition of Swati. And then when we brought Swati to Ahmedabad, which was in 2003, I realized that unless we put processes in place, it'll be very hard to really, maintain what people expect of Swati and what we expect of Swati. Those expectations are always high, and as they should be, and so are ours to please people, because everyone comes in with an expectation. So what we did was we broke down the recipes and have created certain processes that make the whole production much more dependable, but using the same people.
Wow.
And so that's what has now allowed us to expand Swati from originally one for almost 4 decades to then another one, and then in 2016 we opened one more in Mumbai at Nariman Point. 2019 we opened one at 142 where my second office is, and now we are building a central kitchen in Ahmedabad to do 2 more Swatis as well. Likely one in Gift City in one of our own buildings, and one more in Western Ahmedabad where we are making some very interesting retail projects. So when we think of Swati, it is a family-owned and family-run business, and one that we want very much to remain in the family. We are not really interested in expanding it beyond what the family can comfortably manage. In Ahmedabad, we have many family members and some bandwidth available. We also want to sort of put Swati in an environment which we can identify with, and often it helps to create that destination also because Swati is there. So I think there is a whole chemistry that happens if we can put Swati in one of our buildings. It creates a lot of footfall that can kind of create an interesting environment. So that's what we're planning.
That's wonderful to know. Coming from Swati Snacks to the fact that your real estate journey, you described the early days of it. That has also been pretty iconic. Certain properties that have been created have become timeless and have become quite a symbol for Ahmedabad. How has that journey been for you? How does it continue today? And for those who are in this business, how is it that Amaya Properties or Terrazzo or Colated stands apart?
First, there was never any kind of vision or background to do things differently.
Right.
I think what we wanted to build were properties that we could identify with,
right,
that we would want to live in. They were generally simple, simple materials, simple design, easy to maintain. That was the original philosophy. Just good quality of construction. There's no rocket science in this, and there's no right or wrong product. Everybody likes something different.
Yes.
Our sensibilities kind of drove us in a certain direction. And on the earlier days, we were influenced by one of the developments that my grandfather had done in Mumbai, which was one of the first 10-story residential buildings in Malabar Hill. So influenced from that building, we decided to do high-end apartments in Ahmedabad, which were at the time almost competing with small bungalows.
Yeah.
And most people thought it was a preposterous idea why would somebody want to live in an apartment if they could live in a bungalow?
Right.
But what we could see in Mumbai and other cities is that people chose a certain lifestyle where they didn't want to bother with surroundings, they didn't want to bother with upkeep, maintenance, and other things of a house or a bungalow. They wanted the security. Maybe somebody in the family traveled a lot, leaving young children at home. So we could anticipate that there might be a small segment of society that may appreciate or identify with that lifestyle.
Right.
And that's how we got into making apartments. And because they were large apartments, they were more expensive than the average apartment at that time, because they were also trying to compete with the bungalow in terms of giving somebody a lifestyle option of staying in an apartment without it feeling like a downgrade.
Absolutely.
And so that's how we started. It was a very uphill task at that time, because until you build it and until people see, and at least some people identify it, it's very hard to imagine something until it it happens. So it was tough, but that's how we got into it. And then we could. The first one was tough. The second one turned out to be a huge success, because people could see the first one, and at least those who identified with that lifestyle could very much come into it. And I was again lucky to work with friends and colleagues who made this possible. So I had some partners at Amaya and then we formed Amaya in 2010. We were all trying to do things slightly differently. We said that this is our philosophy, this is how we will work. There will be many things that we will do, and there are many things we won't do. And fortunately, all of us kind of drew our own, I would say, a common set of values that we could all identify with. And that was the philosophy behind which we were all trying to work and do nice things and innovate and get the construction quality better and better with each project. We added technology in certain projects, and I remember in 2008, 9, 10, in 2010 actually, our projects were completely connected with fiber optics, for example, which may have been ahead of its time.
Right.
But because we had a partner who had come from the US, and his passion was technology, he could integrate that into our buildings. I had two other partners from veterans of the construction industry. So for us, processes, how we did things, became just as important as the end product. So we put a lot of effort and energy into how we constructed, what we did, how the people who were doing it, the staff, the well-being, the safety standards were and continue to be extremely important for us. So there's one approach where you say, look, I want this, get it done, right? Do what you need to. That's not how we function.
Okay.
We are, we really want to follow good global practices.
Right.
Really focus on safety first. Often people say safety first, and you see big signs saying safety first, but how many people are really thinking like that?
Hardly.
Unfortunately not. We try and put as much emphasis on safety as possible. Then comes quality. There are so many things that, if you don't do right, they will keep bothering somebody.
Right.
Because we maintain and manage most of our projects and have a long-term relationship with all our clients, there's never a time when we can say, sorry, it's not our problem anymore. So with that attitude, getting things right was very important and continues to be. Believe me, we made tons of mistakes, but if you are going to have to fix that mistake at some point in the future, you'll be much more mindful of not making that mistake again.
Of course.
And wherever we can, we fix those mistakes. Where we couldn't fix those mistakes, we then corrected them in the next project. So because we were doing usually a project at a time in the early, between 2010 and 2018, used to do maybe one or two projects at a time. We had the ability to work in this way.
Right. You did share what your philosophy as somebody in the real estate has been, and I think that gives us a very broad view into you as a human. Are there certain ethics, certain standards that you personally follow, that you built over the life, that have greatly shaped your leadership style as well as your entrepreneurial journey? Would you like to share that with the audience?
I can give you a short answer on
Please.
this to start with.
Mhm.
We can perhaps elaborate. Ideally, you want to deal with people in a way that you would want people to deal with you. So, if you can humanize that, and if you believe that each project that you do will create relationships with all the stakeholders, whether it be the whole structure we have to finance our projects, to our whole team that constructs and builds these, the contractors that we work with, the vendors that we work with, and eventually the clients that who consume or occupy these projects. We would like to deal in a fair and mindful way. I think that's the short answer.
Yeah. How has the journey been in recognizing the perfect talent for all the various businesses that you are into? You always share that you have a great set of people, but that doesn't happen by magic.
No, I think first and foremost, I think we want alignment on values.
Okay.
And I think that's the starting point. People who share the values, skills can be learned, but it's very hard to instill values in somebody who is not aligned.
Right.
It's not always that you find people like this, but when we interview people, when we meet people, when we have a conversation with them, we often tell them also what our values are. And sometimes people who don't align will themselves kind of move away from that, because we are very clear in how we want to do this business.
Right.
And that's the starting point. People who have really spark, curiosity, urgency and drive. I think all these things are important. People should feel, for the most part, passionate about what they do. They should take pride in what they do. I wake up every day and feel passionate about, going to work for me never feels like a chore. I feel when I wake up, I know what I need to do that day. And this usually, I want to do more than I can physically end up doing in a day. So that's my own kind of drive that pushes me. But it's to do exciting things. It's to do things where we like challenges. We have started certain business models or projects in Ahmedabad, which are the first of their kind. We are doing a very interesting senior living community, which is a joint venture with the Adani Group in Shantigram. Which is a project that we feel very passionate about. It's compact apartments aimed at seniors with a lot of services and well-being in mind. We have several projects in Gift City, which are also very exciting. We are in the Gift SEZ, where we have buildings which are developed on a build-own-operate basis.
Okay.
We're doing a joint venture there with the Savvy Group, which is very exciting as well. And those buildings are really state-of-the-art, high-quality construction, really aiming at the most discerning global clientele. I think generally, having traveled a lot, we see a certain high standard of development all over the world.
Yeah.
And it always it has been my endeavor to say, not to copy things, but say, how can we get that high standard here?
Right.
Which is absolutely achievable. Other people do it. All we have to do is make sure that whatever we do here is appropriate for our climate,
right,
and our culture. Because climatically and culturally we are different here. So keeping this in mind, we are doing 2 projects there. We are doing some very interesting retail mixed-use developments in Western Ahmedabad, sort of west of Shilaj, where we've taken a lot of land. And that's where we feel that because that land in that area is more like a blank canvas,
Right.
where we have to do interesting developments and shape kind of the way that whole area develops.
Right.
So we are thinking of this as a new district for Ahmedabad. I know Ahmedabad has grown fantastically over the years. Having again traveled a fair bit in India, I say I'm very proud to see the level of infrastructure that this city has built over the years. You know, other cities have immense traffic jams and congestion. So far, Ahmedabad has really kept pace, and we keep building new roads, flyovers, expansions of the city. Infrastructure has been superb. So I think we're also lucky that we are in a city that can support this kind of development. We have a very progressive and dynamic government. Our local bodies, GCCI, CREDAI, institutions that push, liaise with the authorities to see how industry can, really thrive in these atmosphere, in this atmosphere. So I think that canvas is great for us. The surroundings are great. We feel excited about the possibilities of doing projects which have not been done. We are doing a lot of retail and thematic retail in Western Ahmedabad. So if you ask me what keeps me up at night, it's really thinking about these exciting projects and all the interesting things that we can do. And we've brainstormed ourselves crazy. Thinking of all the possibilities of nice things that we've seen all over the world, and said, why can't we have something like this in Ahmedabad? So that's what we are about to do.
Well, I can only thank you for building our city into one of the most beautiful ones and a very progressive one. What would be some of the most important life lessons that you've learned through these years, which, if you could, you would tell your younger self?
I wish I was, I feel more ambitious now than I did maybe 15, 20 years ago.
Okay.
I feel like the opportunities are more now. If I was a little more, I would say, aggressive in the sense of being able to do more things at a younger age, more would have been done by now. But I think sometimes you need all the right ingredients to make something happen. But I think we hope that we are able to shape, the developments that we do into really high quality, world-class developments that we feel proud of. All our stakeholders feel proud of. And most importantly, all the consumers or customers feel delighted with. That's our idea.
You mentioned the word family a lot through the entire discussion that we've had. Family businesses, running a family business, living with families, being so close-knit. How is the experience, and what are certain aspects that you do to make sure that stays in harmony and it empowers the entire enterprise as well as your personal lives?
Again, good set of circumstances. As I said, I was not compelled to get into any family business.
Right.
One sort of Swati fell in our lap because my aunt pushed it in that direction. And now, fortunately, my daughter is taking a very keen interest. So she's the fourth generation now to be really involved in. I think having the freedom to choose has given a great deal of comfort to those who want to participate. I think often compulsion creates this negativity where if you really are not interested, then it's not going to work. So having those choices is important. Yes, we think of Swati, I think of Swati, I'm a custodian. And my father before me was a custodian as well. And hopefully our daughter will be a custodian to pass it down to the next generation. But we want to leave these businesses in a way that carry on the philosophy. They should always aim to maintain a high standard. So we would not, or I would not do anything or allow anything to happen that dilutes that personally, and at least under my watch to whatever I have control over. So we are not looking to, often we get a lot of requests to expand Swati into other geographies, territories. Of course, it sounds exciting, but currently looking at our own bandwidth and ability, we don't think we may be able to really get that quality up to the mark if we were to expand rapidly. So if we do it, we'll do it gradually. And so as a family, I think we are all aligned on this, which is important. Similarly, in the real estate business, I have two much younger business partners who also are very much family and aligned in the same way, where we have no conflict on values, and we have no differences on our long-term vision. We all have ideas on how we get there, and each person is free to take this forward in a way that they like.
I think it's been a beautiful conversation. Thank you for showing us an insight into who you are as a person,
Thank you.
all the businesses that you run, sustainability, compassion, mindful business, true to the heart and with a purpose, and all aligned in values. I think these will be my biggest takeaways from this talk, and I hope it would be for all the audiences listening to us. Thank you again, Shaan, for joining us on this ride through Gujarat Udyog Jagatni Charcha. I'm sure people are going to love listening to what you have shared. And for the lovely audiences, please keep joining us, subscribing, watching us, and looking forward to bring some amazing episodes to your YouTube channel.
Gujarat Chamber of Commerce and Industry. Grow business. Transform Gujarat.